I just watched this movie for the first time the other day, 1917. It's a World War I film, and apparently it won Best Picture or something at the Golden Globes and was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, which, I mean, those awards are not very relevant anyway, but I thought it was a pretty mediocre movie overall, and especially it was not a good war film. There's tons of other war movies that are much better. Um, but there was a lot of issues, a lot of problems with the movie. First of all, I heard somebody else say this too, that um, a major problem is like the director just wanted to make it, because basically the director tries to make it seem as if it's all done in a single take, so there's no cuts like from one scene to another, like obvious cutting or anything. So, it was like he was just trying to, he was so obsessed with trying to make it that way and that style that the actual movie, the quality of the film wasn't really I guess, the top priority. But the other problem with the movie is there's just all these things that just don't really make sense. So basically the premise of the film is there's these two soldiers, and they're sent on a mission by some general. They have to take a message to some other officer down the line. I don't remember. I think it's like 9 or 10 miles away, or however far away he is. And so, to call off this attack, this other officer is going to launch an attack, and they have to get this message to him so they can call it off before they walk into a German trap, because the Germans are retreating, and this other officer is supposed to be stupid enough to think that they're just running away, like they've just abandoned their trenches and their defensive position for no reason. So he's going to chase them down or something. Like obviously they wouldn't be just abandoning their trenches if maybe they'll pull back to some other trenches, which is what they're supposed to be doing. But it's just like, how could this officer be that stupid? And he's supposed to be like a colonel. And then second of all, of course, conveniently, the general mentions, and the Jerry's left, they cut our telephone lines when they left, of course, so we can't call them and call off the attack. Blech. So, it's just like, okay, well, isn't there a better way to get this message there than to send two soldiers? Because they tell them to go across no man's land. Basically, they have to cross into enemy territory and then cross over, and they go through like the German um, trenches, which I'm unsure why that would be the shortest route to this other part of the trench. This trench down the line. But it's like, why aren't there many other ways that they could get this message there that make more sense? Like, even if the phone line was cut, why can't they repair it? Like, does it take that long to repair a cut phone line? That they had carrier pigeons. Why not send out a bunch of carrier pigeons to take a message? Or why not get someone on horseback and have them ride, behind the British trenches, just ride around the trenches where they're safe to, because they have like they have several hours, like almost an entire day to get there. So I think somebody could ride on horseback 10 miles down, or down the trenches to take this letter to this officer, or use a truck or something. It's like, why not? There's so many other ways that they could have done this, and besides, that actually would have had a better chance of getting there, besides sending these two random soldiers through enemy territory to take them a letter. So the whole premise of the movie is just ridiculous from that in that sense, I think, and really does just makes doesn't make much sense. There's all kinds of ways that they could have taken this letter there, even if the phone lines were cut and they couldn't repair them in time. Um, and didn't they still have telegram? The telegraph, weren't they still using telegrams? I mean, were those cut too? I guess the telegraph lines. And so the whole thing is just kind of ridiculous. And then also there's a bunch of stupid things that happen in the movie. It's like basically the film is just they just kind of the like there's basically nothing happening or there's complete chaos. So it's like they're trudging through a field or they're walking through the abandoned German trench, and then there just so happens the Germans booby trapped it, and there's a rat that trips a trip line and something explodes, and then the whole thing starts coming down, because they're underground, and everything starts collapsing, so they have to run like Indiana Jones style, Raiders of the Lost Ark style. um so they get out of that, and then later they find this little kind of hamlet. There's a few houses and a barn and stuff, and then they see off in the distance a dog fight, a British plane, a couple British planes fighting with a German plane, and the British planes shoot down the German plane, and wouldn't you know it, complete movie cliche. The German plane that's way off in the distance, is coming down, and it comes in and it crashes into the barn that they're standing in, and so they have to run frantically away. And then so the German plane crash lands. The German pilot is still alive, somewhat miraculously, and so they drag him out of the two British soldiers drag him out of the plane that's burnt on fire, and are trying to help him. One of the soldiers goes to grab some water, to get some water from the well, and while his back is turned, the German pilot inexplicably stabs the other guy in the gut before he can defend himself, apparently. And so then the other British soldier turns around, kills the German pilot, and then there's an overly dramatic, drawn out dramatic death scene of the guy who got stabbed, and it's just like, why would the German pilot stab him when they both have guns, they both have rifles, they just helped him. He's going to be a prisoner of war and survive the rest of the war, basically. Why would he attack them? And then why would the British soldiers let their guard down completely, when they have rifles and this guy just has a knife and he stabs one of them? So it's just, the whole thing it just kind of is pretty, seems kind of bogus that something like that would even take place. And so I don't know. The whole thing was just, it was barely even a war movie. I mean, it was you hardly even get any kind of actual scenes of World War One. You don't get the atmosphere of World War One, the uh that was that characterized most of the war, which was life in the trenches, artillery shelling, and frontal assaults on enemy positions across no man's land. Like, you don't even really get much of that, which that was kind of the uh, main character. Those were the main characteristics of the Western Front, especially. So you don't even really get a sense of that in this film, because it's just two guys, trudging through the mud and gunk across no man's land or across a field or whatever, wherever they're going. So I thought it was a bad film. I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think it accurately portrays, the First World War and also it makes the military officers look pretty stupid, and it makes the British it makes the British military look pretty bad. Um, so I don't know if that's what they were going for, but thumbs down on this one.